Hi, I'm Dolly Vasta, and welcome back once again to For Art's Sake. Yes, that is a castle you see behind me, and in a moment we're going inside and meet Eric Gustafsson, who is the founder, the president, and the guiding light behind Apollo Muses. Chatting with Eric in the beautiful Louis XIV salon of this Somerset baronial mansion, I realized he had an intense love for the arts. That love, combined with a desire to nurture young talent, has resulted in the formation of Apollo Muses. I asked Eric how the Muses began.
Apollo Muses was conceived by me about 3 years ago. This was an outgrowth. You see behind me the Steinway 1912 piano. Many of my friends, young artists, singers, players, pianists, had trouble getting exposure. They would really work very hard to try and have someone to hear them play or sing. And I would ask them to come here, and I'd invite people to come and hear them and give them all dinner. Then I thought, well, why don't I organize this in a more feasible manner whereby it's something that will continue to help people in general. So it started off helping my friends, and now it's helping perfect strangers. But it's helping not just the artists, but it's helping the community, I think, and the institutions in the community.
Well, you have a very interesting approach, and I don't mean to break in on you with this, but it's a Robin Hood approach to this.
I don't steal from the rich. You're going to have my friends angry with me.
No, but it is a kind of a Robin Hood.
I think it's more altruistic. Well, Robin Hood was altruistic too, but I don't. But
Tell us about it.
Tell us about my approach.
Your approach,
Good.
right.
Well, President Reagan cut back on funding to various institutions, cultural institutions, which meant that universities, libraries, and museums had the facilities. By facilities, I mean the lighting in the auditorium, the seats, the janitor, the people that could work the lights and sound, but there was no money, particularly, unless it was raised specially, to provide the audiences with something to fill that space. So I thought, why don't I have my young artists given to them as a gesture to fill the space? Since I can't afford to build an auditorium, they have the auditorium, I've got the talent, so let's go. And it was an instant success. By that I mean the first year I was $36 in the black. But that's pretty good for a first year.
Excellent, excellent.
And of course I took no salary, but that doesn't matter. And this was, I started with chamber music, because chamber music is small. I could not possibly afford to have a ballet company or an opera company. So I started with a small instrumental with soprano, do a concert series, and I did them back to back. In other words, 5 concerts in a week, which would not take a lot of money away from, let's say that another way, it would not take a lot of time away from the artist. I would take a week out of their life, and they would have a continual growing process with the same group in a program so that they could enrich themselves and enrich the community.
Now, how did you get all the financing for this?
I talked to people like Dolly Vasta and press people, and I said, would you please say something in the newspaper that and I would contact the universities, museums, and libraries, and they all were very enthusiastic. They said, oh, you're giving us a program? I said, yes. And I made a mailing, and I said, would you like to come to a concert on Louis XIV, Splendor of the Sun King? Lo and behold, there were people that did indeed want to have a quality concert, especially if it was free. The funny thing is that when I say especially if it was free, the people that best attend the concerts are those that pay something, even though it's the same concert that the free one is.
That's true.
And I think people think that if they get it for nothing, it must not be worth anything. But I literally have sometimes a nominal fee charged, and it's packed. And the free concerts are well attended, but not as packed.
Oh, that's a subject that could take about 5 hours to expand on.
5 hours every day.
Every day, right.
Yes.
But you did give dinners for your patrons.
That's done once a year for the donors. I put a board together of friends and friends of friends who were interested in my project. And then I would have them in this beautiful house. This is a Louis XV salon, and in this room.
It is gorgeous.
Well, Louis XV would have thought so too, because he had the paper designed by his artist as a wedding present for friends. And it was sent to their chateau, and they never used it for some reason. And it was found at the turn of the century, and this room was created for this paper, and it's one of a kind, non-repetitive gouache. Behind me is the piano, so that when we have a piano concert or a soloist with piano, all the chairs, everything is rearranged to face the piano. We have a harpsichord, all the chairs and sofas are faced that way. And then afterwards, everyone in their long dresses, jewels, black tie, go into the Gothic hall and have a candlelight dinner. When I say candlelight, people say candlelight means 1 or 2 candles. I have 100 or more candles, no electricity except on the tapestries and the stained glass windows. So it's a glamorous evening and everyone is thrilled to have wonderful food, wonderful atmosphere and a beautiful concert, and it's $100 tax deductible. So, and it's to a good cause, and it all goes to the artists.
It's a fascinating approach to it.
Well, those who want to pay get their glamour, and those who want it for nothing get it for nothing.
Although the approach seems new, it's not really a new
No, it's not
approach.
new.
It's old as time itself, really, to have patrons for the arts.
Well, that's what it is. But it is serving the community. We're even expanding with an artist in residence program, which will then, as a result of their being in residence at the farmhouse, which we'll come to later, after a brief residency there, we'll have to perform for hospitals, for patients who can't leave the hospital. And they will also do park system concerts. It's their way of paying for their room and board.
Eric invited me for a stroll outside. The flower gardens and the mazes were breathtaking, and the view of the rolling hills of Somerset County was magnificent. It reminded me of a scene from The Great Gatsby. I remembered reading that among Eric's many accomplishments, he had established a market for original costume and scenic designs from opera, ballet, and theater productions. He had also served as an assistant museum administrator for New York City and had advised museums on purchases. He had updated collections at the Cooper Hewitt Museum, the Harvard University Theater Collection, and the Library of the Performing Arts Contemporary Theater Collection at Lincoln Center. I asked Eric how all these diverse interests had led to becoming an arts administrator.
As long as I can remember, I've been interested in classical music. I've been interested in the fine arts. I went to school and as a child played the flute and the cello, which doesn't make me an artist in any way. I was terrible on both of them. I soon learned I was not a performing artist. But I did go to graduate school and got a degree at Carnegie Mellon, and then began working in the fine arts. I was with Park Burnett before it became Sotheby Park Burnett. I invented the long-distance telephoning. It's done every day now in the auction room, but I invented it. I also thought of using the auction room to have concerts and to have lectures, because it had the facilities, just like the museums, libraries, and universities have facilities. So I think I'm a conceptualist. You know, I have ideas that work. Not a fine artist, not a musician, but I do have an ear and an eye. I collect and I listen to music. Now, I think Apollo Muses really is a culmination of having been in the business end of Park Burnett, being an art dealer, then going into the museum world, and then going into lecturing and writing. So this is a natural outgrowth of all of those to produce programs that are both fine art and performing arts. It seems to me to be a natural outgrowth. And it's only taken a half-century to do it.
Did you ever think that this is what you would eventually be doing?
I had not a clue. Not a clue, but I think it's like building blocks. It just grew and grew and grew, and there were facets. I have many facets to my life, which I'm sure many people do, but somehow they all built into one, fused into one thing called Apollo Muses. And that's why I called it Apollo Muses, because I'm able to do anything with dance, music, painting, sculpture. The Muses did everything. Recite poetry. Would you like to hear me recite some poetry?
Leaving the gardens, our next step was the turn-of-the-century Le Chien farmhouse. Eric spoke of his latest project, Sunday in September, which featured 9 well-known New Jersey artists. The public was invited to enter the private world of the artists in their studios. Their work ranged from the whimsical sculpture of Bennett Bean to the mixed media of Seneca Lane. The day culminated with an exhibition of each participating artist and a reception at the Le Chien farmhouse. As guests gathered in the courtyard below, Eric spoke of his expectations.
This is the first time that I've done it, and it's a big unknown because I just don't know what to expect, except that I've gotten a very nice response, and 4 museums are coming to attend today, and about 100 people have responded, and then we have the artists and their wives and their whatever, and it's not raining. We have 9 artists' work represented here in the fields. You can see there's a truck behind us, and this is the barnyard, which we've had manicured, and please admire the lawns manicured, and there'll be hors d'oeuvres and wine and juices, and it's a way of having the community know what kind of artists there are. Every artist is does a different medium, a different kind of expression.
Well, if we're able to, we're going to try and catch up with some of them today. I'm not sure whether we will
Oh
or
yes,
not.
they'll be here.
All right, but who is exhibiting?
Oh, you want the whole list?
Well, I mean, just today. down
Today.
here.
Well, now I should have a whole list. Sally Spofford from Bernardsville.
Right.
Sonia and Gerhard Kupfel. And now Sonia is a fine artist, and Gerhard reproduces antique furniture. He handcrafts them, and that I think is an art too. Reeve Schley, that's in the morning tour. You see, we had artist tour.
Right, right.
So people could go in the morning to 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever they wanted in whatever order. Then in the afternoon, Sinica Lene and Adair Blackwing, who happens to be married to Adolph Conrad, who's one of the greatest artists of New Jersey. And the last artist, Bennett Bean. But I shouldn't say the last artist, because those are the artists that studios were open today. There's a 9th artist, James Cairns, whose work is being shown here because his studio was too far out of the realm to visit and for convenience. So his work is at the farm, and every artist who's in the exhibition has one piece on exhibit here.
I see. We're busy here swatting little gnats.
Yes.
They're marvelous. So
Farm life.
Farm life. That's right. It's living in the rough. What about this lady in purple that's standing
That's
here?
James Cairns. It's called Norman's Mistress. Now you'll notice behind it are 2 dogs. There's supposed to be 1 dog, but the dog sculpted is Norman. That's James Cairns'
Right.
dog. The other dog is my dog, Freddie.
Fred. Yes, we've already met up with Fred.
And Norman's Mistress is Norman, the dog's keeper, who happens to be the artist's wife.
I caught up with James Kearns by his sculpture. Jim Kearns, artist, right?
Right.
You
right.
did this,
I did that.
and she's called.
Norman's Mistress.
Who is she named after? Well, Norman's mistress, but who is Norman?
Norman is that dog in behind.
Oh, it's the little friend in the back.
That's right. Norman was our dog. We had a dog named Norman. And when I was making this, I came across a compositional problem. I had to get something around to the back. Norman was available as a model, so I used him. And then, because I didn't have any kind of an idea that I could put into words for a title, I had a visual image. So that I had a friend looking at it, and she said, well, why don't you call it Norman's Mistress? And that's how the name came about, because my idea was essentially visual. It wasn't verbal. Sometimes they are, but this one wasn't. So that's how it came about.
Who is the model for the lady herself?
I don't use models as such, but I make them up out of the synthesis of a lot of...
composite of people?
There's a composite of people, and certain kinds of images keep reoccurring, and disappearing and reoccurring again. And so it's an invented figure from memories, I guess should be a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Why the lavender? Is that a favorite color of yours?
If I had a reason that I could give you for that, I don't remember what it was. You know, it just it just occurred. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sure I had a reason, but I don't know what it is. I don't remember it. Period.
You like
know.
lavender. That's enough.
Well, I like lavender. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Now you
that's
have other paintings in the exhibition today, don't
I
you?
have other paintings that are up in the little room up there. So I paint, I sculpt, I draw, and I do.
So you do a
things.
lot of
Yeah.
medium.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which do you prefer?
Well, when I'm making the sculpture, I prefer painting. When I'm making the paintings, I prefer sculpture. You know, I just like them all. One relieves the other. And since most of the image follows through on the paintings and on the sculpture, it really isn't that big a jump for me, because I don't go to an entirely stylistic difference. I simply have certain images that are pertinent to me, and I let them evolve in sculpture, or I let them evolve in painting or drawing or whatever. But it's not that I have a particular preference. I guess I'm in love with the images, and then I find a way to structure the images to say whatever it is I have to say.
Is art full-time for you?
No, I teach, and it's about half-time, you might say. The teaching takes about half the week, and then I can work the other half.
Are
So
you
it's
an art
half-time.
teacher?
Yes, I teach at the School of Visual Arts in New York City.
Aha.
Yeah. So.
So one works with the other one, though.
Well, everything seems to work one with the other. You know, I don't find, I mean, these neat little categories that we all use to help us define things tend not to work in art. You know, you take something from teaching and you take something, you look around here, you take something from there. I'm always taking something from everything and then bringing them together some kind of a synthesis that somehow means something for me.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me.
My pleasure.
As the guests gathered at the reception, I had a chance to speak to other artists. Sinica Lina, artist, right?
Yes.
This is one of your works. Explain a little bit about what it is.
Well, it's a mixed media piece, acrylic, pencil, ink, whatever else I may have had. It's a good representative piece of my work. It's called
a title for it?
Blind Force.
Blind Force. How do you feel about the studio tour today and the concept behind it?
I think it's a wonderful idea because I think that most people on the outside rarely get to visit the studio of an artist because it is a very private, intimate space. And I think that if a certain amount of hours is put aside for an artist, he knows, she knows that this will happen. You're emotionally and spiritually prepared for people coming in, and I enjoyed bringing my work out and sharing it.
Do you find it's more profitable to bring people to the studio rather than to show pictures at an exhibition?
Well, this was the first time for me to actually have people that I didn't know come in, so I don't know. I think that it's an idea I'd like to explore. I don't think I would want people in there very often.
Right, because it's kind of a private space,
It's
isn't
very
it?
private, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like to keep it that way.
Bennett Bean, artist. Okay, what type of work do you work in? What
I
medium?
do a couple of things. I make pots, and that's small and intimate, and then I do this kind of thing, which is for the outdoors.
This is wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I thought it was quite cheery.
Yes. What inspired you to do the three cows?
The barn.
Oh, the barn. Well,
I mean, there they are, on their way into the barn, all
three. If I had
three.
thought about it intellectually, I would have understood this. I didn't look that closely. That's true. And you work them in golden milk.
Oh, the whole thing is, these are terracotta sections, and I've got a big machine that extrudes them just like toothpaste, and you cut them up, glaze them, fire them, and then assemble them here. Then there's the wooden lintel across the top, and the cows on top are terracotta, pushed into a mold, and then fired, and then gold-leafed. So that's real gold cows, although the gold is not terribly thick.
There used to be a milk called Golden Guernsey.
There did.
Years ago, yes.
Well, I'm not sure these are Guernseys. I looked in my cow book and got the generic cow to go on top of this gate.
Just an ordinary generic cow.
Yeah.
Eric also spoke about the Apollo Muses fall concert schedule.
Also today, I have two, the new soprano for Apollo Muses for the upcoming next month's October concert by the name of Suzanne Peck, and also oboist Sarah Davol, who has played with us before, and they are going to be in the concert series in New Jersey through Apollo Muses called The Colonies, Conceptions and Misconceptions. There was music written in Europe about the colonies which people didn't know. They thought there were princesses in captivities and lepers wandering around, and famous composers did these works. So it'll be an interesting series of concerts, and
Well, I'm going to talk to them in a few minutes.
Good.
You are Suzanne
Peck.
and you play?
I'm a singer.
I feel like I'm playing musical games. Oh, you're a singer.
I play my vocal band.
You play your right. Wonderful. And you are doing a concert fairly soon.
Right.
When?
October 12th at the Brooklyn Museum.
Aha, you're going to be over at the Brooklyn Museum
Right.
also. Well, because this is on tape and we're never sure when it's going to be slotted in, you will either be going to do it or you have done it. And let's face it, you were magnificent, right? You got a
Thank
standing
you.
ovation. You were asked back several times. How do you feel about doing the concert over there?
I'm looking very forward to it.
Are you?
Yes, it's music I've never done before, and it looks interesting and different. I never thought of one of Johann Sebastian's remote sons writing a cantata called The American.
Yes, that's a whole different theory, isn't it?
Well, it's just, you don't expect it. You hardly even think about America when you think about Bach.
That's true. That's true. Yes. Just blow off these little things flying around. Anyway, Suzanne, I wish you a great deal of
Thank
luck,
you.
or as we say in the trade, break a leg.
Thank you.
Or maybe you've broken it. Have you been doing these concerts with Eric, or is this a new thing with you?
This is my third set of concerts with Eric. Third concert.
How do you feel about his concept of bringing in the patrons to supply the financial backing for the arts?
I think it's wonderful. He's done a very special thing, bringing people together. He has quite a knack for it.
Yes, he's a very special person, we have discovered.
Yes, I believe so too.
Yeah. And what a special and extraordinary day it had been with Eric as our gracious host. Back in the salon, I asked Eric about the future of the Apollo Muses.
Already I have started doing a fall and spring season. I began only with the fall. I started very modestly. Now I've expanded into the art exhibition once a year down at the farm, having a group of artists as well as a studio tour. So that's an expansion. And I want to do that every year. I've just started doing the Apollo's Lyre presentation, which is a presentation to a person or persons who have helped enrich the community culturally and have helped encourage young artists. So we have several programs going. I want to fully explore having a working farm that has, by working farm I don't mean tilling the land, but using the space for sculptors to create things and writers to write and singers to sing. In other words, have them in residence for a specific time, at specific times of the year. I don't want it in the winter. Then on top of that, if that is not enough, I am setting up archives, library, and collection at the farmhouse. And aside from that, I have nothing else to do.
That is quite an ambitious schedule.
People say that I'm unrealistic, but I say if I were realistic, I don't think that's the word they used, but it's something similar to that. And I say, well, if I were more realistic, I wouldn't even get out of bed in the morning. I mean, don't you think?
I agree.
I mean, people say, oh, I wouldn't do that. I mean, how are you going to get away with that?
Well, that's impossible.
Oh,
Or impractical. or
that's the
whatever.
word.
Impractical.
You're very impractical. And I said, well, I wouldn't get out of bed if I were practical.
But
Because-
the arts are impractical many times, too.
Well,
And that's what
life
it's
is
all about.
impractical in a way, but if you don't grab it and shake it around a bit, how are you going to get anything?
Eric, you've been absolutely delightful.
Well,
and
you're delightful.
thank you so much for
I
allowing...
wish you'd come back all the time.
Thank you for allowing all of us to intrude on you. And
No
I know you're
intrusion.
very, very busy, and you were so marvelous to us today. We're down here. I wish you all the luck in the world, and
Well,
I hope
thank you.
everybody comes out and really takes part in this. And
Well, you can only lead them to
That's
the
true.
to the watering spot.
That's
You're not cows out there. You're just wonderful people that should be thirsty for something, right?
Well,
And
take care of
hungry.
yourself.
Thank you, and you too.
Right.
Pleasure.
And to all of you out there, I hope you had as good a time as I had today. And I'll see you all next month. In the meantime, take care.